Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So we continue with our questions from non-Muslim friends, not our questions, but their questions. We are good. So we had a ton of questions. We went through some of them. So we are now going out of order. I think we are done up to here pretty much, I would say.
It's the first four ones.
Yeah, the concubines and slavery was next in line, but Dua chose why is Quran open to such a wide way of interpretation as the first choice for today, and then miracles, why don't we see them anymore, as the second. We'll start with the first. If we have time, we'll go to the miracles question as well. Okay. So this is the question. Quran, why is Quran open to such a wide way of interpretation? This is just a question out there. Let's open up this question. Around this topic, what questions do you have? Or do you have, or not you, but your friends, have any question? Quran being interpreted. Is this an issue for you guys or no? What?
Yes, especially since Islamic terrorism is a thing. So
Okay.
you have the Taliban, and they'll take out a verse in the Quran, like for example, the one in which they say, like kill all the non-believers, even if they're even if they're in Kaaba's Ghalaf. But that was for a specific time. But they'll use that to justify, like terrorism or whatever. So
Okay. Yes.
There's so many tafsir around, so how do you know which one is right?
Oh yeah, tons of tafsir, and which one shall I follow? Yes.
More first, there's this big section that believes in it's my duty to establish religion all over the world, like the common deed. And then there's another faction which says no, it's just related to your own tazkiyah, just be a good person and your own.
Okay.
We do want to know what the truth is because they're reading the same book, the same text, and coming to two opposite conclusions. They both can't be true. So what is true?
Okay, so people are holding the same verse. One is saying black, other one is saying white. So which one is true? How do I know which one is true? What am I going to make out of that? So all these things are coming into the picture. Even one could say, let's say, Qadir is going and saying Islam is the truth, Quran is the truth, and then Qadir's friend says, which one? Like there are tons of different things which are apparently coming out of the same source, and you're saying that Islam is the truth. What is it that you're talking about? So this is becoming an issue, especially if you take it as like you would like to take a case where just tell me which one to pick. This generally being the expectation, right? Tell me what should I understand from this verse, and I will take it and go. Don't put any responsibility on my shoulders in a sense. This is being the attitude. So tell me what's true. I'll take it, go fight for it, or go live with it and whatnot. But I don't want to get into nitty-gritties and just live with that. So generally, this this is another mindset which asks that question, right? So I don't want to take responsibility. I'm not a scholar. I am no one. So I just want to not get fried in the afterlife, if you like. So I go to afterlife, I die, I wake up, and they said, oh, you followed the wrong scholar, sorry, go to the hell. So this sort of a thing is really being worrisome, and this is why such questions arise. So I guess, yeah, so we increase the number of questions, but at the very core of it, why is Quran open to such a wide way of interpretation? And even a Christian friend of mine was asking that question. We used to do like Bible Quran study together with him one-on-one. And he was a smart person, but he used to ask, well, Bible is more day-to-day language, but Quran is not as such. So why is this the case? So if the Creator is speaking to me, why didn't he speak openly and clearly so that I take it and go with it? Of course, this is also a little bit of a weird question from his end because like parts of Bible, especially the Old Testament versus New Testament, is different in this sense too. But in a sense, he was more referring to the New Testament. And still, his question stands. Why is Quran not speaking more openly? Okay. These are the questions. Any other questions? No? If not, I will start asking questions. It's going to be a very abstract question, of course, but what is Quran for you? What is your definition of Quran personally? Like, don't go for trying to find a textbook definition, which is going to be bulletproof. Your honest answer, like nobody's going to fry you for your answer. But when someone asks you, what is Quran? Or let me put it this way. If I say, who dash what is your mother? The answer I am not looking for is, oh, she is the one who gave birth to me. I know that. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is, for you, who is your mother? And you have a personal history, relationship, definition for your mother. And that answer might be different than your brother's or sister's answer as well, right? Because maybe you're the favorite child. So in your eyes, your mother is different. And your sister or brother is the abused child. So for her, it's a different description of the same mother, right? But it's a personal answer and a relevant answer. And that's what I'm looking for. Other than this biological or like clear answers, yeah, they're fine, but they're irrelevant. So what is Quran for you? I'll come to you later. Wait for your order. Sharia.
I guess like a book for reference, like for guidelines, like if I have any questions to find the right answer.
Of what sort? How to do pointers in C? Like what sort of an answer you're looking for?
Maybe like guidance on the right way to live life according to Islam.
According to Islam, how to live life. And by that, let's dig a little further. What do you mean by how to live life according to Islam? Is it like, for example, when I'm going to file my taxes, I go to IRS website and try to look for the rules. How do I file so that at the end of the year, 6 months down the road, IRS people do not show up in my door? So this is my worry. Like otherwise, I hate filing tax anyways. Like they're taking my money away, so nobody's happy with paying taxes. But just so that I don't put my feet in the wrong step, as a precaution, I am following their guidelines. Otherwise, I would be happy if those guidelines didn't exist in the first place. So what do we mean when we say finding guidelines to live according to Islam? Is this the same type of relationship or is it different?
I think it's different because with the IRS example, like we have to do it because like it's something we have to do. Like if you don't file the taxes, we're gonna have to do it later anyways. But I think the reason why I think it's different for me personally is because it's something that I've already like accepted and I'm not doing it out of a force. I'm like, okay, I want to do it the right way, but now I want to dig deep into what that right way is. So the act is already there. It's just the way to get there is what I refer to Islam.
And generally, when we say this, what comes to mind first is how do I pray? How do I fast? Is this what comes to mind?
Yeah, I guess those would be like examples of it.
And what else could be there?
Maybe something like, I don't know, like for example, there was like an instance when the prophet had like dark magic done on him.
Okay.
So maybe it could be something like, okay, when I'm not going through a good time, how would the prophet react, or how would God explain in the Quran how to react in such a situation? Or
Okay. Kadir is going to give very complicated answers, so I'm skipping Kadir. I'll get back to you, Kadir. Let's go with Peter Parker.
I think it's a personal letter addressed to me with, like Shahriar said, advice. The first thing that comes to mind is Surah Luqman, in not quite the beginning, but early on. It's Luqman giving advice to his son, so I kind of look at it as advice in that sense of like, be patient over what befalls you, be grateful, and he who's grateful is grateful for his own benefit. So I think it's advice and guidance to live a happy life.
to live a happy life. Oh, that's good. Yes. Could you remind me your name again? Sorry about that. Sarmad. Okay, Sarmad. What is Quran for you?
But I would say it's a place to find myself when I'm lost.
When you're lost, meaning GPS is not there downtown. What is it?
Like, you know, referring to like the way of interpretation,
Okay.
sometimes when you read maybe the same surah, you're reading that translation and you're in a different situation, you relate yourself to that in a different way. You seek guidance from it in a different way, which helps you be content with the situation and, you know, provides you guidance for how you should operate yourself through that situation. You know, it's a way of connecting yourself, and I would say
Do you have a reason to expect this from Revelation, though? Like, for example, if I was an ancient poet, okay, 2000 years ago, and I have written some poem or something, and you're upset today, and tomorrow you're happy, would you expect my poem to address you in both conditions?
well, depending on the prime topic you have.
So from Quran, you are in expectation that Quran is going to address you in different circumstances. The same text, maybe the same surah even, to address you in different circumstances that you find yourself in, right? You expect this from Quran for whatever reason, and I'm asking that reason. Would you expect the same, for example, from a ancient poet? If not, why would you expect it from Quran and not from that poet? Make sense?
Yes, I think because that's the word of my God.
Okay, who is your God? What do you mean by that? Like what, how come God is different to you than the ancient poet? The ancient poet knows you how much, or relate to you how much, versus your creator relating to you and knowing you how much. Is this a relevant distinction? Like, for example, if it was me giving you a suggestion versus your mom giving you a suggestion, I guess, seeing you for the second time or third time. That much I know you. You're from Pakistan, you're Qadi's friends. That's all I know, okay? I even forgot your, you say name, right? Or even your major. So if I give you a suggestion, I mean, you can take it serious to a certain extent. But then you would say that, well, this is a generic advice. He guesses about me and gives as such. But he doesn't know what's happening under the hood, what's happening in my heart, what I'm going through, where I'm coming from, right? So you will take my suggestion with a grain of salt because of that reason, right? But if it was your creator giving you the suggestion, meaning not even your mom knows you, that's why you will pay more attention to your mom's suggestions, right? But if it is your creator who is creating you in that condition in the first place, then you can start interpreting his suggestion to be fitting in that condition as well. You have a reason for that expectation. It's not a self-imposed expectation. It's a very logical expectation, right? Like if your mom gives you a suggestion, you would say, well, she knows what I'm going through. If she's forming that sentence, I mean, we are assuming a supervised mother in this case, but she is speaking this considering what I know, what she knows about me, where I'm coming from, all my feelings and everything. Then you would say, on the surface, this suggestion doesn't make sense. But now putting this into perspective, you will try to reinterpret it in this way, then things start changing. This is why you wouldn't apply the same to an ancient poet. Because at best, an ancient poet might have gone through something similar in life, like you, then you will pay more attention. But if this ancient poet was, let's say, a son of a king, living in palaces, you would say, well, the guy doesn't know anything about poverty, but I'm coming from a poor family. How come he can relate to me, right? So you wouldn't try to interpret what he says for your condition, because it doesn't make sense. I mean, how could he know? At best, how much can he relate to, right? And it was 3,000 years ago anyways. This is a big distinction. This is why, yes, Quran should become a guide or a personal letter. This was a nice word to use there, a personal letter But to take Quran as personal letter, you need to have such a reasoning or such a definition, description for Quran in the first place. This is why defining Quran, I am starting this with defining Quran, because if I don't have a proper description of Quran, then my expectation from Quran would change accordingly. This is why before even getting into trying to understand Quran, I need to get to know what is Quran for me in the first place. As my definition of Quran gets changed, my answer, the thing that I take from Quran would change dramatically. Okay, let's continue. Brother, your name, remind me again, I forgot. Abdullah. Okay. What's Quran for you?
My relationship with the Quran is well,
Emotional, okay.
you find that people who don't even understand what the Quran is, when they just listen to it, resonates with them certain activities. So sometimes it's not even about the meaning of the ayah that's being recited. It's just the fact that the Quran is perfectly recited.
And that's definitely an aspect of Quran for sure. Like even in its melody, there is something that touches human heart. I agree with that. But of course, I need to go beyond that because it is guidance. Like since it's being mentioned as guidance, I would say, what does it mean? And actually, your point was good in terms of emotions. The way I am speaking, it shouldn't sound like it has to intellectually make perfect sense and everything. It should, but at the same time, it should address my feelings, my emotions. My emotions being, I am getting old. My parents are getting old. My children are growing up. And after a certain age, this starts becoming emotionally heavy. At your ages, probably you don't have time to even think about that. You're just trying to catch up with your assignments and TA work, right? So, but as you start saying that, look, I was hoping to get the degree, I got the degree. I was hoping to get the job, I got the job. I was hoping to get married, I got married. So not much huge life goals left, or even if there are huge life goals, you also have a good number of life goals which are achieved. And you didn't find any satisfaction, or at least the satisfaction you're imagining to have. I mean, you didn't reach nirvana as you were imagining, right? So this being the case, then you start questioning, where am I going? Because I achieved those goals. I didn't get the satisfaction I'm looking for. I just put another 10, 15 of them in front of me. And now I know that I'm not going to reach satisfaction by them either. Where am I going? And you start seeing that people are going, like your relatives start dying one after the other. Some bright family member gets cancer and you see that their goals are being cut very quickly, right? Then your emotions start steering. You're saying that other than just the intellectual mathematical proof, I am dying, give me an answer. Why am I dying? Why are we dying, right? So Quran should address, I do expect my creator to satisfy those questions that steers my emotions as well. So understanding in this sense is not only an intellectual action, but having an answer to those questions. Why do I die? What happens after I die? Or what happened to the good memories that died? Like yesterday's nice memories are gone. Because after some point, really looking at pictures becomes hurtful. You don't enjoy looking at those nice pictures anymore. So this is why, yes, it should address my emotions too. And everybody has different emotions. In this room, everybody has different emotions, but speech is one. Same Quran is speaking to everybody in this room. What does that mean then? The personal letter comes into the picture. We are taking that it's a personal letter, but it is the same letter that everybody is going to sit before. This then becomes our exact question, right? How can you make or take Quran as personal letters despite it being the single text for everyone? You remind me your name, brother. Saad.
Yeah.
Like the Saads. Okay. Yes, Saad.
say that it's like a guide for how to live my life and be successful in this life and in the hereafter, and to avoid the punishment.
That's a good answer, a good generic answer, I would say. But why, for example, am I concerned about punishment in the first place? I mean, we heard this from parents or Sunday school and whatnot. But is punishment something real for you?
Also in the Quran, it gives like examples of like people in the past that have faced punishment from them for like disobeying. So like those examples also like help our mind to stay on the straight path.
Yes, but take it this way. Like coronavirus came, which was a global scale punishment, could be taken as such. Or some others could say, well, it was just a natural disaster. Or some other could say, well, you know what, China made it in the lab and sent it to the world and whatnot. So what you would consider, like, would you, for example, consider this as creator's punishment to people? Or would you take it as a natural phenomena? Or you take it as a biological weapon or whatnot? Like earthquake, because Quran is mentioning the past nations. Some of them got flood, some of them got the earthquake and whatnot. Last year, there was an earthquake in Turkey. I mean, yes, some people say that it's punishment of the creator to us, but many more people are saying that, no way, it's just earthquake. Like Turkey is in this tectonic whatever place where earthquake's supposed to happen at some point anyways, right? So in this sense, the notion of creator's punishment needs to be somewhere for you as well. So in this case, I guess we should say, walaikum salam. So we should say, this is how I would expect, because I am given this life, and even in the class, let's say, the teacher is suggesting me a curriculum. If I follow the curriculum, I learn. If I do not follow the curriculum, what happens? I get an F. And it's supposed to be like that, because the purpose of that education is so that I learn. So I do expect punishment to happen if and only if I consider there to be a teacher, a wise teacher that is teaching, that's at play, that's in action. So this is why when it comes to those punishments, yes, Quran says so, that this happened, but this should be more of a confirmation of what I'm already expecting. Like if I get to class, let's say you're doing undergrad, if you go to graduate school and let it be a totally different school, even before the professor says, here's the syllabus and whatnot, you would expect to see a syllabus. You would expect to see a grade scale. You would expect to see what would be the punishment if I do cheating, because it makes sense. Like if there's a proper educational institute, there should be facilitators of education. And there should be cases where if you start deviating, there needs to be some checks and balances to push you back to the path, which are the punishments. So yes, in this life, I would have punishments or warnings to take me back into the path. And I would expect the creator to talk about that too. And I would be watching out for that. So yes, I should be asking. And many students do that, right? At the first lecture, it's the most boring part of the lectures. In the first lecture, first term, beginning of the term, the first slides is about the syllabus. But professor needs to show what the grading scale there would be, so that you know how to more efficiently go through your education. Yes, your name, brother. Lamarana. Okay. Quran.
To me, the Quran is a book that I need to memorize so I could go to Jannah.
Okay, that's cool. To memorize so that you don't get. So, what do you think about that? So, like if you memorize it, would it carry you to Jannah? Is this an assumption or is this Is it a hope? Okay. So if I give you a map of a treasure which is buried under Philadelphia city building, okay, and you memorize it so well, 5 steps, go out from the subway station at 15th Street, this exit, 5 steps this way, 4 steps that way, and you memorize it perfectly. Are you rich? No? You didn't reach the treasure yet, right? You have a supposed address of the treasure. You didn't even check if it's correct. I might be a trickster selling you the treasure map and taking your money and saying that, look, I have a very valuable treasure map. Give me $100. I'm going to give you the treasure map. I take your $100, give you the treasure map. You memorize it and you're super happy that you got the map, right? But then you didn't even go and try to dig it. Maybe I am a trickster and you are even ripped of $100. Like, forget about getting rich. You become poorer, right? So how can I become rich? So this is what guidance means. A map is a guidance, but I don't know unless I go and dig. So I need to do that. Otherwise, by just memorizing it, I mean, memorizing Quran is very useful tool. It's not the end goal. It's a tool for the end goal. The end goal is that this is guidance. Memorizing is so that you have an easy access to it, so that you are busying yourself with it rather than memorizing like Justin Bieber songs or whatever, right? So, but how is it becoming useful for me? If I take it and go and dig wherever it asks me to dig. Let's skip you, Nazli. What is Quran for you?
I guess for me, it's a narrative which not only guides me on everything from how to pray to my relationship with people, but also gives me comfort whenever and wherever I need it. Because I know that I can reach it whenever I want, and I know that it will calm me and help me get through anything that's there.
Okay, and you are in expectation of such a guidance from whom? From a man who lived 15 centuries ago, or who would provide such a guidance to you?
I know that the guidance is and I think it's the book, so I would assume that I was getting guidance from.
So if you haven't heard about a man named Muhammad brought up a book called Quran, would you still have that expectation?
I think I would, because I would still think it was a miracle since I could get answers for all my questions. And
Like, imagine a case where the book is not there. You haven't heard about the book, so it's not in front of you. But would you expect such a guidance to be somewhere?
I would assume that would be guidance since I was sent here. I would assume that would be guidance since I would assume that would be a creator which would answer all my questions.
Because you have questions, right? So where did these questions come in the first place? You found them to be with you, right? So I have tons of questions. And sometimes you hate those questions. You don't want to have them, but you cannot disperse them. At best, what you can do is busy yourself with Super Bowl or whatever, like something, or sometimes job. Job becomes another type of getting drunkenness. Chasing career becomes another type of getting drunk. So, but if you take it serious, well, how did I end up with so many questions? I don't like them. I want to get rid of them, but I can't. And having those questions is more like, I mean, in a sense, human intellect and human emotions are like an empty stomach. Like, they want something so that it gets in and it feeds my spiritual body, because my physical body is getting fed with this stomach getting filled, right? And I have another stomach in my, if it's proper to call it as such, in my spiritual world, in my non-material side of me. There are other stomachs. One is my intellect, another one is all my emotions. And I have a lot of emptiness in there which needs to be filled up. There's the food for them. What is going to fill this stomach? But I see that my physical stomach, although it's an empty thing here, all different food is provided out there for this stomach. So there is somebody who is really taking care of this material stomach with the spring. The whole spring is bringing all the food and everything that's required for that. So whomever creates the stomach is creating the food for it too. So I would expect the one who creates my spiritual stomach to fulfill its food too. So I would expect my creator to give me answers. I would ask from him actually. I would say, oh, my maker, because I see that I am not happening to be. I am being made. I am being created. And part of me are those questions, those troubles in life, like family issues, my parents and all these, they're happening. So how am I going to find answers? By myself, I'm not able to. I was hoping that Kadir can give me the answer. He's also getting stuck with his parents. So how do we do that? Even if I haven't heard about Qur'an, I would have expected my creator to talk to me, because I have very personal problems in this life, and those problems are being created by him. And when revelation comes, a person comes and says, yes, here is Qur'an, my creator speaks to me, I would say, I was expecting something like that, but let me see if it is what I'm looking for. Meaning, maybe you're a trickster. Let me see if this is really speech of my creator. And I need to have a sense of that, right? If I come Samad or no? Sarmad. If I come to Sarmad and say that, Sarmad, your mom told me that you should give me $2,000. Your mom, and she said that if you don't give me $2,000, she's not going to give halal to you, like you're going to burn in hell, so you have to give me. Otherwise, your mom is going to be like coming against you in afterlife. What would you do? I mean, I'm coming to you with a legitimate name, your mom. Like somebody is now coming and saying that this is speech of your God, and he says such and such. How would you verify that? You will call your mom and say that, mom, did you say such a thing? Like the guy comes and says, give me $2,000. I mean, if it is you, yeah, I'm going to give. Don't get me wrong, mom. Like I'm not judging you or questioning you, but I'm trying to see if this guy is telling the truth, right? So somebody coming with claim that this is speech of your God is not enough either. Because I have a sense of what my mom would say. Like my mom wouldn't ask to give $2,000 to random people. Go away, you would say to me, right? Because you don't expect your mom really to do such a thing. Even if it was your brother coming to you and saying that my mom asked me to ask you to give me $2,000, it's more reasonable, not a random stranger, because you would say, well, my mom could ask my brother to ask me. I mean, it makes sense. So, but there's a notion of you get to know your mom and you have an expectation. So you have a way to verify this. How would you verify Quran being speech of your creator, right? These are all relevant questions. So it's not very easy, to be honest, to say that, well, here's the book, let's go with it and read it, because I said that I'm Muslim and this is the book of Muslims, so let's go with that. And even we have an example for that, right? There are Christians and Jews which are saying that here is speech of our creator. And now Muslims are saying that, no, your scholars messed it up. How do you know that your Quran is not messed up either, right? So there has to be a checks and balances on my end too. This is what it is saying actually. And it's not being less pious. Because if you were to be born in a Christian family and you memorized Bible rather than Quran, you would think that you're going to paradise. And then your Muslim friend, Mahmoud, comes and says, oh, you memorized Bible, but you're going nowhere, man. Come on. What would you do, right? There needs to be some way for you to say that, well, this doesn't sound right. And I think this is where, again, this your personal expectation from your creator in terms of guidance would become a litmus test for how you would determine whether this is speech of your creator or not. Dua, what is Quran for you?
I think this discussion also reminds me of some questions that my friends had, which were like, oh, like, because we all notice that we're temporarily on this earth. We see people dying and we're like, okay, so we're here for a very limited time. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is the purpose of this system that I'm seeing? And really, like, these are very, like, these are questions that even plunge people into existential crises and depression, you know, because like, I don't know, like, I think these questions are very fundamental and very important. And then it's like, as long as you believe in God, whatever he has to say to you, it like has to be very relevant. You know, like it can't just be like, oh, a historical narrative or here is a fun story or whatever. Like it has to do something that is meaningful to your life.
Mhm.
So that is how I see the Quran. And I think like even just because like it's confusing to navigate this earth without guidance because there are all these notions of what is good, what is bad. You have feelings in you of mercy, for example. But then you also have these whispers that are trying to like take you in a different direction. So what do you choose? Who is God? And you know, like these days we're studying Surah Ikhlas, and in that God is himself telling you who he is and what it means to be sincere to God. And then like yesterday, I was praying and I got this thought in my head, you know, like did I leave my stove on, right? And I mean that thought automatically I was able to recognize it as waswasa because we read about what waswasa was in the light of the Quran. So immediately I was like, okay, you know, this is a wrong thought that is trying to distract me. I'm gonna like remove it from my head, whatever. So I think just because it's the speech of God, and as long as you do believe that you know He is your creator, then it becomes very relevant and it has to like you know have importance in your life.
And that would happen to the extent that you are convinced and sure about your creator. This is why the more, let's say, if you're attending this discussion for the first time and you don't know me, and this happens a lot with certain brothers, let's say, they were attending discussion for a long time. Initially, people are being very cautious. What is this guy saying, right? Seems to be making sense, but like keep your guard. I remember some brothers, for example, we traveled together with those brothers to somewhere. That was a big change. Now that person is seeing me in like one-on-one in a different setup where they are establishing a different, it's called by an icebreaker, I would say. So now seeing me from a different angle, this personal relationship, personal trust is established. Then in the next discussion and in those travel, we had personal questions back and forth and trying to understand where you're coming from and whatnot. After this discussion, when we keep having this attending discussion with those brothers, for example, I started seeing that now that they see where I am standing, they are listening to discussion with that perspective. They started interpreting the content of the discussion from that lens, right? Because I could have been trying to manipulate them and abuse their, I don't know, position and whatnot, position in life and whatnot, right? But once you establish that relationship, your expectations are changing. This is why your mom saying the word, give this guy $2,000 versus my wife telling you, give this guy $2,000 makes a huge difference because you don't know who she is, but you know who your mom is. So to the extent that you know who your creator is, the same speech is going to mean way different. We have 15 minutes. What was our question? Why Quran is open to such a wide way of interpretation? So speech is one, Quran is one, yet speaker is creator, one creator, but your understanding of your creator is different than Parker's understanding of Parker's creator. And Parker's circumstances are different too than your circumstances. Like one problem we have is we said, well, text is text. It has one meaning. This is because we just get stuck with the text itself, the dictionary meaning or the literal meaning of the text itself. But text is a tool for conversation. And conversation happens in a context. Conversation happens, like what are the fundamental items in a conversation. Speaker, who is the speaker? Addressee, audience, who is the audience? What is the purpose of this conversation? And then in which context the conversation is taking place. Okay, 4 things, not just the text itself. I am going, like, the text's color, text's meaning, or the word's meaning is going to change depending on these 4. Let's analyze them. Creator is the speaker. Who is the creator for you? Like, do you, like, oh, of course, God. Who is God? And I am looking for a genuine answer, like, who is your mom? This is why we started with, who is, when I ask your mom, everybody has a tender individual relationship with their mom. Our definition of God should be more tender and more genuine than this one, because if my mom was with me for however many years, my creator has been with me 24/7 for that many of years. Like, if it's a matter of togetherness, his togetherness is more than anything else. So depending on how much I know him, his speech interpretation would change. And last week's khutbah, we were talking about this too, right? So if you see a 30-second, just very quick reminder, 30-second clip of me yelling at a 2-year-old, if this only thing you see, you would say that, well, what sort of a cruel guy is this and whatnot, right? But if you come to our house and see that this 2-year-old is my son and he is all over the place and he loves opening the window and his car, he's trying to reach out to cars, you would say that, well, somebody needs to say stop to this kid, right? Because he doesn't know how to stop. So actually, this is a merciful father yelling at the son so that he scares him a little bit and he doesn't jump off the window. So it's a life-saving thing. I mean, no way close to his abusing the child. He's trying to protect the child. What changed? Description of the speaker changed, right? Because previously you were imagining the speaker to be a simple male who is trying to be strong and abusing his power over this defenseless 2-year-old. The video didn't change. Still, you're looking at the same 30-second clip, but your understanding of the doer has changed. So this is how the same speech would make a dramatic difference in meaning depending on who the speaker is. The audience. Who are you? Depending on who you think you are, you'll change the meaning of the same text too. Like if I say that, let's give an example with computer science. If I say that, well, we need to be very vigilant and very careful about data structures class, right? Noor would say that, well, doesn't apply to me. Like, I have nothing to do with computer science. But Mahmoud would take it serious because he would say that I am a computer science software engineering person, so this really applies to me. So same speech, to Noor, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't apply to her because she doesn't define herself as a IT-related person. So he says, I don't care. Likewise, in Quran, there are going to be verses about Christians, Jews, atheists, munafiqs. Quran's talking about them, man. Like, I have nothing to do with that. At best, I would say Quran is giving me tools to be vigilant towards them. Like, when a Christian comes, this is how I'm going to slap them. So this is really defining, who am I? Every single verse of Quran is speaking to you, even when it speaks to Jews. Do you have a Jewish attitude as Quran describes Jews? Yes, identity-wise, you might be identifying as Muslim. And in Turkey, it's even writing as Muslim in our identification cards. I don't know if it's still there. They updated it. It's no more? Okay. Okay, good. So, but other than that, how much of a Muslim am I when I am treating my brother? Maybe I am treating him in a different way, in a non-Muslim way. Quran is depicting certain personality types under certain names. Am I fitting under this certain title when I deal with my friends? If I do, time to time I am a Jew, time to time I'm a Christian then. For the purposes of Quran, though, which takes us to the third thing, right? What is the purpose of Quran? In which context this is happening, right? If I take it for guidance, it's a separate thing. If I take it as a history book, it's a separate thing. Do you take Quran as a history book? Do you take Quran as a science book? And you're trying to find a proper description of whether the earth is flat or the earth is round and how large is the space or when did the creation start? Is that what you're looking for when you look at Quran? Or you are looking for a personal letter? Like, do you really care about when the existence started or whatnot? Probably you're more interested in how you're going to graduate and get a job. This is much bigger of a problem for you than whether the earth is flat or round or whatnot. I would expect my creator to, since as much I guess or am convinced that he is a wise speaker, I would expect him to put enough emphasis on things that it occupies my world. How much is the roundness or flatness of the world is your worry versus why am I dying? Which one is a bigger concern for you? Which one is a bigger concern? How am I going to be a friend with Qadir versus, I don't know, like, oh, how Islam is going to become the thing for the whole earth and whatnot. It starts from here, right? Like we are always imagining these society level large things. Quran also talks about that. But it starts with how I treat my brother. Quran will talk about things within the proper measures, I would say. Yes, you will find and you should find even the tiniest things in Quran, but it's only 6,000 some verses. So all your questions have an answer in Quran to their proper degree. Quran will not start talking about, oh, this is the diameter of the earth and this is this and this is that explicitly, because like, this is not everybody's concern, first of all. Second, if that much information is directly put in there, you will need to have volumes and volumes and volumes of text, not just 6,000 verses, right? So this is why Quran is speaking concisely, and every individual is going to take their lesson from that same speech. And another thing, another aspect is, although the speech is one, but the audience is very different. Like there are scholars, but there are also children, or there are people who cannot even read, can only listen to Quran. So the same speech needs to talk to everybody. How is this achieved? Now only think about this from practicality point of view. One speech speaking to all different levels, like the PhD, masters, or even let's talk about the Islamic scholarly level, the best of the scholars, and also a small child who is just learning how to read Arabic or how to read Quran and whatnot. The same speech needs to be addressing all of them. How would you achieve that? There has to be room for interpretation. Doesn't make sense otherwise. Like this is, now I'm speaking really from practical point of view of how language works. So Quran being open to interpretation is a must anyways. But what does that mean though? If we go back to one of the initial questions, which interpretation is right? How do I know that? Right? Yes, interpretation is inevitable. Not even inevitable, but desirable for Quran. But which interpretation? Yes.
Do you believe that if you truly understand religion, like the way the Prophet did, for example, the Quran would have one true interpretation?
Like, that's a very wild question, I would say. And because still we are imagining a clear-cut answer such as, shall I pray like this or shall I pray like that? Like, even in these there had been room because Prophet did this and also did that. Just to say that even in practice there is room that how Prophet interpreted those actions. But more so, but still there are certain boundaries in there, right? But let's talk about something more than that. Fiqh is necessary as part of life. But even further than that, how I interact with my wife, how I interact with death is a bigger problem in my life. How do I do that? Because my wife is neither Aisha nor Khadija. So how do I do that? Because if we are talking about interpretation about certain specific personalities, we have those in Prophet's life. How about a different person? So there has to be a room in there. How would I know that I am doing it right? So the reason why I said it's a wild question is let's adjust our expectation. Do not expect to have something like, okay, there's going to be some understanding, and if I dip it into this chemical, if it comes out green, I am good. If it comes out red, I am bad. This will never happen. More important question is, what is my attitude towards it? Am I trying to say that, oh, my creator, I'm going to take you to Abduhu wa Rasuluhu. Even for the messenger himself, we first say he is an abd, then we say he is a messenger. This is a very important thing. We don't say, let's say, Melikuhu wa Rasuluhu, like he was the king of him and messenger of him. We are describing best of humanity as a slave. This is a very interesting thing, right? We don't say the smartest of his creation and his messenger. Who would be proud of being a slave, right? Being in this mindset of, I am in need of you. I am in need of answers from you. I am given those questions, but I am in need of your guidance. If you guide me to the right path, which we say there in Fatiha, Fatiha is summary of Quran, very beautiful, right? What do we say? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praises to you. I'm not taking any credit to myself. All praise is due to you. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. You are merciful, compassionate. Maliki Yawmiddin. Day of judgment is yours. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. To you alone we worship, meaning I am an abd only before you. I am in need of only before you. And from you alone I seek help. This is really what it means to be an abd. When you are sitting before Quran, if this is your mindset, oh my creator, I have questions. I have some understanding from here, but I need your guidance to find the right answer. What do we say there? Guide me to the right path. And this is at the very beginning of Quran. Quran is saying that get into this mindset first. From whom are you seeking guidance? Seek guidance from me. You will never be sure. You will never be sure by yourself. You will be sure of your creator. So you will put effort, constant effort, for seeking the answers to the best of your ability. But you will always know that this is why we keep repeating Fatiha, guide me to the right path. Neither I nor none of you can say that my understanding of Quran is the rightest. You can say that I am putting effort. I am asking from my creator to guide me to the right path. Put your effort towards that, but you cannot claim that this is what it is. That's why having this level of consciousness is a little disturbing, because we would like to say that what I am doing is the best, what I am doing is the rightest. I should rather say I am a human being. I am a created being. I don't know. I am an abd. If my creator guides me, I will find guidance. And I do expect him to provide me guidance. This is why I say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, after we say guide us to the right path, what do we say? Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim. This is a very important thing. You have guided people before me. I see that, those prophets. I am asking you to guide me like them. It's a very beautiful thing. And by this, actually, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, you bestowed your mercy upon them. I do see that. Oh, please guide me like them too. It's a very beautiful and live connection. This is why we keep repeating it every prayer. It's not like I'm guaranteed, I graduated from such and such, given it to school, I'm good, I'm comfortable. You cannot. If we should have been comfortable with that, we wouldn't be suggested to read Fatiha that many times every day. So we will never have discomfort, and we should never seek discomfort. in life, because that comfort is, what am I being relying on in this case? To myself? I cannot. I can only rely on my creator. Relying on your creator means opening your hands. So Quran, yes, go ahead.
But then, like, I guess my issue in there is that, like, our interpretation of the Quran sometimes is also tainted by our worldview, what we have been told, by like some ahadith we have heard, for example.
Yeah.
Like for example, the other day in our discussion, I mentioned the verse, God doesn't burden a soul beyond what it can bear. And a very common understanding of that is, like your suffering is not going to be more than your soul can bear. And after that discussion, Zara was telling me about how, like, his interpretation of the verse is that, like, the responsibilities that you have been given in religion aren't burdensome for you. So, my interpretation of that, and that's a completely valid idea as well, but I never thought of it because I had always heard of it in this one context. So immediately my mind went to that. So, like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Yes.
Just to comment about, when you're talking about Fatiha, when we make that prayer, we're also walking in with some assumptions there. So we already decided who is Namda alayhim and who is the Maghdub and who is the Dawalin. So, like, what is the basis of deciding what we're seeking?
Mhm.
This feels like there's already context to Fatiha because we already know what is right.
Yeah.
We're asking for the guidance like this and not those, so we know who is right and who is wrong.
Yeah. So this is a beautiful segue to, both your questions are really along the same lines in terms of we cannot take Quran independent of messengers. We cannot take revelation independent of messengers. This is a huge crime because messengers are interpreting Quran within their lifetime, within their condition. So by learning their life and how they lived the life, I am going to learn the pattern of interpretation. And likewise, same thing applies to Sahaba. Their lifetime events have shifted. How did they interpret this? Over time, scholars, how did they interpret this? It is getting tougher, but now still responsibility is on your shoulders. Am I able to take my ego down to sit before those messengers and this lineage of messengers? When I say messenger, prophets have been messengers, and students of prophets have been messenger in terms of carrying the message to me, not in the sense of taking revelation, but they have been doing the job of messengerhood. And Prophet ﷺ has a hadith about this too. Ulama'u ummati ka anbiya'i bani Israel. So the scholars of my ummah, my nation, is like the anbiya, the prophets of Bani Israel. They are fulfilling their duty within the community. So do I need this? First, if I realize this, I will seek for that message. And of course, comes the question that Dua was initially asking, or there's such and such terrorist group or whatnot, who is having their own scholars as well, and they're saying that, oh, this is my interpretation, so how am I going to distinguish this, right? Welcome to the club. Now you are going to take your responsibility. If you have this notion of, like, if you're desiring for getting that education, you will put your effort in there too. And you will find your ways to see how Prophet did it, how it was done over the centuries, how it is being done in my current setup and whatnot. Look for it and keep asking guidance from your creator. Then inshallah, you would, that's what Fatiha's conclusion part is, right? I am expecting that you will guide me, O my creator. This would be my expectation. And the reason we say in Fatiha for an'amta alayhim, in the broader sense of the word, I say that there must be people who achieve guidance. And practically speaking, I do see some people who are guided and living a more stable, consistent life. And I do see some people who live messed up lives, right? And I do see that in the sense of my spiritual need part, there must be some people who achieve this. This is why actually, if you have not heard about Quran, you would go and knock somebody's door. Did my creator talk to you? Did he talk to you? And once you hear that, Creator talked to Muhammad ﷺ, he would say that I was looking for that. Tell me about it, right? So this is why expectation is there in the first place. You know that such a thing must happen. And when you see people like this, you will start getting attracted towards them. Like for instance, if you were looking for mechanical engineering, if this was your thing, you would Google for it. You would say, well, which university shall I go to? You did this search for yourself. Now we are talking about why you are living, why you are dying. This is a more serious question that you're going through in life. Why don't you ask the same question? How do I make sense of this revelation to answer this question? Our attitude is generally being, look at the scholar. He's saying one thing, he's saying another thing. It looks like I'm not going to look any of it. I'm looking for excuses. Like the way it looks like is, well, Drexel says mechanical engineering we have, MIT has it, I don't know, Temple has it. Well, I mean, look at the difference in quality. I'm not going to study mechanical engineering. This is a lazy person's attitude. You should rather say, well, I do see those different things. This is doing this better, that's doing that better, but I'll go to MIT. This would be the person who is taking it serious, right? So this is why if I see a person who puts La ilaha illallah in their flag as if saying that this is I am upholding religion so much, and then doing things all messed up, and I say, well, if these are the Muslims, I'm not taking that religion, then it's up to you. You don't do the same when you're choosing your major, which university you're going to attend to. If you take it serious, you will find who are, because you have that expectation for a good reason that there must be people who are understanding this properly as a humanly way, then you will search for it. And once you find it, you would like to say it to other people, because Quran puts that responsibility on your shoulders, right? Says, Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, then becomes your responsibility, and you would lovingly do that because you found something valuable and you would like to share it. Qadir, we are off time. Go ahead.
Like the way you're describing it is like, it is okay for your own interpretation kind of thing, but you go to scholars and if you listen to someone debating, it's always like they have a valid point, like someone that is debating, and if you listen to them and if you're immersed enough or you respect the person enough, you're most likely going to accept what they're saying. You go to another person, you have some respect for them, and they have also a good explanation. And as someone who has like my language is not Arabic, like I have to base something off of one of those tafsir that are out there. So how do I choose that? Like it is like I can name 2 or 3 tafsirs, like how my friend told me, like they could give you different explanations and they could make you believe all of those explanations. Even like there is on the topic of terrorism, there is one guy, like they go and interview him, and he said, like, give me a phone and 5 minutes with a young person who just came out of college or who like something is not good in their life, and I'll make him a terrorist right now. Give me 5 minutes on the phone. So it's really easy to convince people. So how do you choose that? Like my first language is not Arabic, so it's not easy for me to like, okay, I can understand what is being said here.
So that scholar cannot convince any college student, but that scholar can convince certain college students. I think I can do the same. Like certain college students, I would say, manipulate in 5 minutes. But there are certain other college students, and you should be those others, which are saying that, no, there are different facets of it. You're just showing me one side of it, and you're just overgeneralizing it, which doesn't make any sense. There would be people who would be able to do that. You should become those. So, and this, like learning Arabic is just part of it. It's a tool, it's a necessary tool, but even in the lack of it, still you can do a decent job getting to understand what your creator is saying. And this is the responsibility that we need to shoulder. You and I need to shoulder that responsibility. And we do that. I mean, it's not a huge thing. Everybody in here, at least for how many years, 18, 20 years, you have been getting education. How many hours every day? Like since primary school. It's a huge commitment. The huge commitment we do for what? For earning a livelihood. We are talking about making sense of this life, which is apparently my only capital. And the education I take is not useful after I die. So the whole education you go through for 20 years It's just so that hopefully you will get somewhat of a comfortable life, meaning you won't be homeless, that's it, for the next 40 years at best, right? And you have to be watching for your retirement savings and everything, right? But your life is your capital. It's going away. Where am I going? What happens after I die? This is your real question. And I don't want to do any investment in here and just expect that Peter Parker is going to become a scholar and will tell me the truth. And without questioning and whatnot, I will memorize it and get into paradise. I mean, this is a very cheap approach, right? So I should put effort in there. And it's not that this effort is useless. Like if you enjoy talking to your mom or your wife or somebody, like that conversation is joyful, you conversing with your creator is no less joyful. That education is not a burdensome education. It's a conversation with your creator. And it's a very lovely conversation if I get to see that really. So that's why let's encourage each other to get into that education. And let's pause here. We are over time. Are we somewhat, did we answer the question a little bit? I guess there are more questions, but
Yeah, I think.
let's pause here. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين